Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. So I was hoping for a little bit of a blast off into resistance, but that's not in the cards at the moment. Too much hesitancy. Always start with the futures as always, and a little bit of a wide range bar, not really large one on Friday. Uh, but notice this bar compared to the previous two bars and the other two bars and the bars that preceded it here. And so we say this gap up was the start of this move after the breakdown failure that occurred here on the 21st. Oh, shoot. We need charts. Right? What the hell would we do? We'd be out of business without charts. Must be able to do anything. I'd be back to where I started many, many years ago with no charts. So, what I was saying was this bar from Friday, the difference from these preceding bars, there was a lot more confidence, buying into the end of the day. So these bars were narrow bodied bars. Obviously, the bottoming tail bar was a wider bar. That was the one we called a correction bar. And so I'll just drag that over there. That was the correction bar. And then we had the Microsoft and Meta earnings had gapped things up. And so we look at this bar and it's like, okay, nice open, nice close. It should go higher toward resistance. And this morning doesn't mean that it won't happen. Just whatever was starting the day off, a little bit of selling. So we look at the 65-minute chart, and overnight, there's a bunch of, back and forth, back and forth. Here's your major resistance area. It's pulling back where buyers should show up. We see that they are on the 5-minute for the moment. Some resistance there. So running in place. As always, we'll see where today ends. This could end up as a 1, 2, and then 3 up if it was to close this way. However, is it what we want as a tradable 1, 2, 3? Not unless you're nimble, because this pivot high and the next one is relatively close. So it's something that could last a day, day and a half, whatever. It's not one in which it's starting off from a consolidation. So resting so far, upper half of this bar over here, and this is what I was talking about, the breakdown. And you remember here, prices broke down and they reversed right back up again. And then the gap up day, forget what the news was. Oh, that was the Fed chair thing, right? Oh, I'm going to get rid of him. Oh, I was just joking. No, no, we're not going to get rid of him. Right? Bond market did its tizzy. So still in an uptrend here, threatening on the deep retracement, sideways trend. Why sideways? Because it's a deep retracement, and that happened pretty much across most sectors last week. Where as we look at these charts, I say, okay, this is chaotic, right? And this is insanity. And from here, this is where it gets more of, okay, this makes sense. There's a level of confidence that comes in, but it's still in a downtrend, and this being at resistance. Not until we got this correction bar, right? That bar right there, for me, was the first point in time where it showed a historical pattern that had higher probabilities of following through. Because correction bars, by definition, are little washouts within what preceded them, and it helps prices, you know, move up with greater ease. And so, always move up to where? You know, well, right here. And so when I say, this is where sellers will try to take control, that doesn't mean they have taken control. They're going to try. Right? And so what we look for going into this week, and there's numbers coming out at 10 o'clock, I think it's ISM, is a close below a prior day's low, right? Or a close below a high day, which would mean a close below here today And so unless this number at 10 o'clock comes out and it's a big surprise, it's probably not going to close below that. You know, buyers will show up and we'll see what they do. And if they can get up into this area. Now we're looking at the futures, obviously. We really want to look at SPY, SPX, and the Qs and so on for our reference points. So let's finish here with futures, right? Little breakout, correction bar, room to move up, same pullback, holding for the moment, and in the process of possibly forming a sell setup on the weekly time frame. Only Monday, a little over 9 o'clock, so this bar is way far from being done, but it's coming up to a congestion area, right, which is this right there, and a declining 20 MA, right, which is equivalent to the 100 on the daily. So as you see me move my cursor on the weekly and you look at the daily and you see it moving around, you have a significant alignment of reference points up in that area on the NASDAQ futures. You've got the 100 MA on the daily. You've got the 200 MA on the daily. You've got a pivot high up there and an in-between number, right? 20,500. So the probability of going through here is low. But let's see if it can get up there, right, or not. If it can't get up there and it breaks down below these bars, right, the thought of it getting up there, that evaporates. Dow, similar pattern, playing a little catch up, right? It's been underperforming, nowhere near the 200. It's at the declining 50 at what we call minor resistance. Did close above this pivot finally. I mentioned last week UNH was down at $400. Maybe that could help propel the Dow. Right? So it poked under it and it recovered a little bit. So if for some reason some money might gravitate into this, we're not going to go long, of course, but it might, offer itself out for a put spread if the turn could show some type of significant reversal, like maybe getting up somewhere close to 410. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. The Russell had hopes of playing some catch up as well. That's at the declining 50. And again, we'll see if it forms a continuation. It's in the upper half of the wide range bar and a breakout of the consolidation, which suggested it could go up here, and maybe it does. Right? Sell setup on the weekly. And let's see how this, as always, progresses throughout the week. Right now, just looking at these charts anyway from a starting point, there's nothing to do. I mean, other than maybe if on the intradays we get some kind of a pattern, not this whipping up and down where things tighten up, maybe we have a long where things, since this is grinding higher and resistance is up here, maybe things could set up. And right now, my point of view, there's wait and see what unfolds. Now, of course, there's gapping stocks and whatever. Gold making a turnaround, nice turnaround, but into this congestion. What do it's like, why couldn't you wait? And so what I'm talking about with that, whether the other futures, equity futures, would be to see something like this where it starts, it's whipping back and forth, but it's building a base, it's building resistance. And then, you scroll it back here, you get one of these little pullback patterns and a wide range bar, something like that to communicate it's ready to go higher. Whereas, what am I going to do with this? Now it's chopping around, it's at resistance, but I'll keep an eye on it to see what it does at this resistance area to see how it handles it. This is still in an uptrend. Bitcoin has been outperforming, but the beginnings of a little breakout failure in this area of congestion. So that's on support. If it can't bounce from there, that would open up the door to a thought of it pulling back into that unfilled gap. sometime this week. All right, interest rates are flat here, doing nothing. They flipped up last week, and interestingly, the markets could give a damn, right? Or the interest rates were going up. Um, you know, so they're in the middle of no man's land, so to speak. You know, support down here, resistance up here. It's in the middle of kind of nowhere, as I said. Nothing happening. Crude oil, interesting. Does it hold? Will it hold this area? Um, under $60. It's at this pivot. Can it make a turn? We'll watch and see. So far, just a technical buyer showing up in an area of support. And SMHs, you look around and you see deeper retracements almost everywhere. This one hasn't retraced far enough, but it did close above the 50, which is a plus. And at the moment, my cursor here to see where it is gapping below Friday's low, give or take. So we'll see if it can hold. It cleared these pivot highs. Can it hold above those pivot highs or not? So there's a lot of, coming into today, I thought, okay, can we continue higher? Maybe yes. As I said, the things tighten up intraday or not, or, does it close weak? We didn't look at silver. That's been all over the place too. Right? This looked like it was going to continue higher. And even here, it was like, okay, little minor pullback, going to get going. And it's just erratic. So nothing to do there either. I'd like to look at ETFs to see, where they're on the daily chart, where they're gapping. So, that's right up against the 200. The 100 was a little bit higher here. So that's why we look at the ETFs, or you could look at, NDX to see where it is, because any leverage instrument isn't where you want to form your bias as far as support, resistance, and moving averages alignment. So the 100 is a bit higher there, but this is formidable, with this pivot high and the distance it's run. There's an unfilled gap down here. Well, if you want to send an alert, I don't know however you do it on your platform. That's how I do it on mine. And that's there, and I can drag it up and down, which is a nice little feature. And you want to put another alert under the correction bars below. And there's an unfilled gap down here too. So as intraday traders and swing traders, we got multiple reference points to be aware of on a short-term basis. Prior day's low. Where is it? It's gapping to the prior day's low. They're narrow range bars. It's really not that significant from a gap point of view, somewhat, but from a short-term trend point of view, it's really not significant. And it could become a green bar today or not, right? But there's an unfilled gap down here and so on. So, and again, looking at the 65-minute, you've got a lot of little congestion there. So let's just call it a mess for now as we start the week. SPY, same story, same analysis, of course, factory work as we call it, gapping to Friday's low, right? So starting off in a negative way. We'll see if it holds. Can it get back up again? Hourly 65, still in an uptrend. Right? Where is that? It's still on. It's on that little support there. So kind of be a wait and see here at the open, and maybe into 10 o'clock. So last week employment numbers may postpone Fed rate cuts. Well, yes, and so we start with an assumption based on news, Robert, and then if you go look at the CME Fed tool, as I wrote in the letter, which I got the information there, of course, right? The belief for a rate cut in June was like 50 something percent. Now it's 30 something percent. But if we didn't, like, from all these years prior to that, we didn't have a Fed a CME rate tool. So all we needed to do is go over here and look at the 13-week, and we see this flip up, a breakdown and a flip up. So information that's available to all of us confirmed, right? What the Fed tool said was, hey, there's a strong change in a belief about what the Fed's going to do. And if you want to know, well, why did this happen? Well, that's the news. That's why it happened. So absolutely, there's less probability of a Fed rate cut coming. And we'll, again, the news will become more of a focus now that the tariff situation seems to be dissipating for the most part. And so like this number at 10 o'clock will probably could be a market mover. So let's finish up here, hand it over to Dan. We know this is gapping down to yesterday's low, and there isn't that much movement in the strikes from last week, which weren't touched, right? The extremes. And so again, starting out again, looking at what average true range would possibly put it up here. That ain't getting up there today unless that number's something crazy because it's gapping down here. And so the possibility of coming down to the 50, if the number is negative, is probably pretty good, where it would test in maybe that unfilled gap. And we've got very significant bar right there, that correction bar. Short term, I can't grab that thing to move it anyway. You know what I'm talking about. And there's an unfilled gap here. So as we look at this little area here on a very short-term basis, assuming things are negative, right, that 5,600 area should be very strong support, right, on a pullback. Unfilled gap, this little consolidation top of that. So somewhere in here, right, should be very strong support. And getting up there today, even if things are up a little bit, unless the number's crazy, they can get up there today, right? 200 MA pivots, and I'll move that over so you can see the numbers. You know, things are just messy here with this current arrangement of bars. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Sam might be taking the day off, so he could start drinking margaritas early. Hey, well, yeah, this is for me on a Monday morning with all of our weekend trades and open trades. It is shocking to me that I have zero alarms going off. That's amazing. And unless I missed them, no, I don't have anything. So that means we had mostly bullish trades in the weekend letter, and so we'll go through them, of course, in the morning. But I'm not going to be in a rush to cancel them because of the market gap down. The only way they're going to trigger is if they're really bullish. So let's just go right to earnings here, and I'm on my big watch list. No volume. There weren't as many here, so I didn't go through them yet. Kind of an inverse head and shoulder here, but it's not a pattern I would do now with the spiders and diamonds up 9 trading days, most in 21 years. Just me hearing that alone is just without even looking at a chart, shorter prior days low and sell call spread. So new longs, we got to be careful also because there's not going to be the market oomph to make them move up, particularly for bottoming patterns that have been weaker. All right, but then these are earnings. So I'm looking at the 118, nothing. ERX, nothing. Nothing. I mean, it's trying to make a turn, maybe put spread, but I mean, there's no reason to force things. So I looked at this over the weekend as soon as I heard um, the announcement of Buffett retiring at the end of the year. I mean, this was a big bullish ascending triangle. Look, there's your neckline. Here's a pivot. Here's a pivot. Here, that's your ascending higher lows. Gapping down to 522. There's no options on it, but if there were, then I'd be looking to sell a call spread. Little breakout failure, but no interest. See another little junky bottoming pattern. So something like this, under the 50, under the 200, a couple attempts to break out, and the market being where it is, this would be a horrible odds bottoming pattern. And this Wednesday, we're going to be talking about moving averages. So it's stabilized because it got above the 20 here, but declining 50, declining 200. Like I said, attempts to break out. There's zero reason to buy that thing. There's another one. Potential bottoming pattern, but look at these power of this declining 50. Well, that is zero interest. ON, little semiconductor. That could be interesting for 30-minute high. What's actually it was gapping over yesterday Friday's high, and now it's not. So ideally, um, hmm, ideally it just chops around, and then after 10 a.m. it takes out Friday's high. And that's, I don't have time to get into all this, but this is a much better bottoming pattern than some of those others I talked about, because it took out this. That's well above the 20, little red bar ignored, has a bigger void up to 45, and it's 42. So that would be a nice swing trade to 45. So that one I like. Let's CMI gapping down, pattern. There's nothing to do. All right, there's not many here. It's a mess. This would have been a potential bottoming pattern, but gapping down, downtrend, daily, weekly, monthly. Nothing. Lima 86. Now it had this open flat. Well, let's keep this one on the radar, because I don't see much volume here. But if it does open flattish, that could be a day trade long, not a swing, because I don't like the way it came down. But look, it's been building a base here. Flat 50 MA. Nothing. See, this is a buy setup, but it's following a Climo. We talked about this last week, that these don't expect a new high typically, and many times these buy setups fail. But the bullish weekly monthly, that's a bottoming pattern on the monthly. I'll keep that one on the list. Twist, I think, is a bio, but bottoming pattern, 30-minute high. That could be an idea. I'll keep that one. Nice on a mess. CMI, I think we already looked at. Netflix is not earnings, but it's gapping down because of Trump going after wanting to, 100% tariff movie producers now that are making movies out of the country. So that was showing incredible grinding bar by bar strength. So now today's gap is putting a big old whacking on that strength. So let's see how much it bounces, if any. And that's a definite call spread watch. So as of right now, those are my two favorite: Netflix call spread and this I win at over Friday's high after 10 a.m. All right, Z car here. I was watching this one last week on this explosion. This 15-minute chart possibly could set up for a day trade. A wing, this is on Sam's list. Sam, I like it as a day trade if it opens flat. Look at that beautiful 15. But it's strong, and I it's too far from the 20 for me with the markets extended. But day trade, just right off the 15, I like a lot. Setting an alarm over here. And I think this was on your list too. Bottoming pattern, blasted through resistance, and now buy setup at the conversion 20 and 50. It's just up a lot, so there's no entry here. But that's a quality bottoming pattern. But your entry was 5-minute high on Friday. Let's see, YouTube here. I'm gonna pull it up 1 second. All right, Delta 20. Better than TSM. I'm not sure what the question is, Delta. This we actually had a put spread last week, and then I said it was a little bull rectangle with a void. I had it as a long, but Thursday's gap messed it up, and then it gapped up to resistance. Looks like it gapped up this morning. Now it's filling the gap, so I have zero bias on what to do with that. And if you wanted me to force an answer, I would say 30-minute low call spread. He's saying no. ON is what? I said it
ON
twice.
is a semiconductor stock. You were talking about ON before.
I know, but what's the question? I know. I said it twice. I like
You
ON.
like it better than TSM, I guess.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to figure out what the question was. 100% I do. Provided it chops around and takes out Friday's high after 10 a.m. But the way it's selling off here a little more, TSM is stronger, but it's up 3 days at major resistance in the 200. So if that is your question, then definitely I like ON better as a new trade. All right, let's see what else I got here, and I'll just miscellaneous watch list. KWE I saw whipping around this morning. I don't know what's going on there. Deck, hey, relative strength. We have a put spread on deck, but I also have this as a watch list for a bottoming pattern. The bottoming patterns we want, the 20 and preferably the 50, to flatten out from a multi-week or month consolidation, a couple of bullish tells, and a price void. So we put this on a put spread on Thursday, and the stop now is Friday's low, but 30-minute high. That looks like a directional. Delta, we have an open put spread already, another bottoming pattern. Costco, relative strength, it's gapping up in a weak market. We did a half lot of a put spread on Friday. Triple H, this is Howard Hughes, that Pershing Square guy is dumping a lot of money, 900 million into this thing again. Yeah, deck. SPSC, we are in this, another bottoming pattern. We have a break even stop. My alarm didn't go off yet, which means we're still in it. This, we did a half lot on Friday, wide range igniting breakout, gapping down. We only did a half lot. So maybe let's watch that. Provided it doesn't retrace more than 50%, then we can look maybe to add some type of bullish intraday setup. TFX alarm just went off. This was a bear 123 short with a bearish end of day base. That is good to go. Looks great. Pulte up alarm just went off. I was scanning the housing sector. And the problem is a lot of these didn't have voids, but this is a bull rectangle with a correction bar, red bar ignored, closing breakout. There was not enough juice for a put spread, but if this was a fluid move down, then that would have significantly higher odds. But I set an alarm anyway, obviously. But I don't know what to do with it. Actually, I posted DHI as a put spread over Friday's high. So see, this one's weaker. Same type consolidation. I would never buy this thing. Same reason. There's a wall of resistance over here, but put spread Friday's high. And it looks like it won't trigger. Won't trigger. Unless it's strong. So I'm okay with leaving it there. Leaving the alert. But I'll go through all of them. All right, so that triggered short TFX. I noticed here Autodesk, we did a put spread on Friday, and it's coming rearing back to fill the gap, so that's a good sign. Another housing toll brother. Alarm here again. There was no juice to do a put spread. I was looking to do the 99s. So there's these are bottoming patterns, but definitely not directionals. IoT up alarm. We're long this. Let's see. We had a put spread last week. And yeah, no, we're out of the put spread last week. So IoT, I'll set a higher alarm. Market's holding, breaking out of a 5-minute consolidation here. Let's see where it is relative to the daily retracement. Yeah, that's still a bearish gap under that. It's a mini Bear Island reversal, but and up 9 days. So yeah, despite this little bounce, I have a slight bearish bias here. 30-minute low, for example. Ordering. Second. All right, do an order there. Okay, so this ON bottom right, I have now no interest, zero. It didn't meet what I wanted. I wanted it to hold like right around here. And now I forget about it. All right, UAL. My alarm went off. This was a put spread idea, top of the range, so it's definitely not a directional. But put spread idea, let's see. Yeah, I gave it over the closing price, so 70.66. And it's already rallied 50 cents from there. 70.66 is 40. Yeah, so that should have been filled. I said 55 and it's 48 and it rallied. Our delta is up alarm. So there's obviously some buying in these home builders and airlines. Now the oils are down. There's some rattling going on. OPEC increasing output, and I gave OYH and XOP put spreads. 8. But and UNH alarm at 402, but nothing to do. All right, so XOP, see, I had a put spread over Friday's high, but I'm going to leave it. That's okay. Because it should not trigger. And OIH same, selling the $200 puts. It should, because that's an acceptable retracement from this range. So the pattern is not destroyed. Do you see that? So that's why I decide to leave it. Leave the alert. Lulu up alarm. That was a big old bottoming pattern. Oh, good thing you didn't, Alex. I would be very scared if you had a typo on that second letter and you were out in public, but that's too early to, that would be a very unsightly sight, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, Delta, we have a put spread on that, but yeah, hold on a second. I know it gapped down also, but I did have it on my list for a long watch. But yeah, let's take a look. SIG. Yeah, if it closes like this, I like it. A big bottoming pattern. It's actually an inverse head and shoulder with two heads. I'm just not aggressive on the long side because of my bias, but I like the pattern if it closes like this. Gustavo calls these two heads Medusa. So that's what I call it, a Medusa head and shoulder. All right. Interactive broker. No. It gapped down. We have a put spread. No, it's top of the range and gap down. It needs to go sideways a couple more days, and let's see what the broader market does. I like that SIG better. He says he's flying too much, and also he doesn't like the volatility with Duns. president, leader. So that's fine. Ah, that's why IoT I gave us a put spread. All right, I gave this one 39.5, 37.5. Let's see if this triggered. No, we're not going to get filled. No, it's only 15. So then the question is, do we want to leave it to get filled on a pullback? And I say no, because the only way we're going to get filled is on an ugly pullback. So that one I will cancel. Let me check some others. Home Depot, I have over Friday's high. Now see, that one is still fine if it triggers. DHI I mentioned, Tesla is pulling in, but this has to take out that entire base. It's still a bull rectangle, but it's weaker today. It's weaker today. Looking at my fangs, Apple is also weak. I looked for a call spread on Friday on this gap down. There's Apple just lost his touch of having nice premium. All right, Autodesk up alarm. And we have a put spread in this. Let me see where we're at. We're actually flat. We're flat on the Autodesk. So let me ask you all a question. Autodesk. Let me ask you a question. With the market gapping down, should we kill this put spread at break even? What do you option traders think? We have the 270, 265. Pattern's fine. The only reason I'm asking that is because of the broader market. See, there's no right answer. We got one no, one yes already. What do you think, Greg?
What was the question?
Should we kill Autodesk put spread break even just because of the market gap down?
What's the strike?
270. Only
reason I don't see any reason to other than just being nervous.
Well, right. The reason I gave was I have a short-term bearish bias in the market, and if we keep selling off, the odds of this going against us are high. All right, so I'll leave it. I killed mine though. But and then same with Interactive Broker. We are break even. Oh yeah, let me look out. Oh, it's the high of the wide range bar. I know that was a bear 1, 2, 3.
Q's daily chart is obviously what I covered pre-market, but so far, I mean, that last 5-minute bar broke the low of the day, and buyers stepped up. So for the moment, buyers are still relatively aggressive. They've got the daily chart arrangement against them, but looks like maybe we can get a gap fill. Now that we got this bottoming tail bar on the 5-minute, which was a breakdown failure type of correction bar, but not with the trend that it's back, the low of the day is going to become a significant point of reference here in the short term. But if it can get above the high of the day, and just looking at the 5-minute chart, which is 3 bars ago, we should see an increase in buying, at least again for the next, we got 10 o'clock number coming out. So that's the only hesitancy, I guess. Delta 20 likes airlines. Another bottom fisher.
Yeah, we gave you UAL put spread and we're already in DAL.
Something in the Qs is stronger than other things. Well, NVIDIA is holding up pretty well. PayPal is strong.
That was in the letter. My alarm went off. Yep. What trade did I give? Buying 66 calls.
I'm already in, Alex. So I took it above the high of the 5 minute bar with a stop below the low, but please help and buy it above that high.
Six calls. PayPal. Yep, 230. So that was a perfect estimate.
If there's any premium in McDonald's, yeah, but it's kind of set up for an iron condor.
I had looked over the weekend. Yep. There's nothing. There's like 14 cents. Yep. I saw it.
PayPal. I wouldn't do it. Anything with it, but showing relative strength. You got PLTR earnings tonight, Dan. You're going to do an earnings thing, wide range bar Friday into resistance. Got a heck of a run.
I know. Remember, we had a nice long. Yep. We bought it right on that gap breakout. FTMT alarm. It's a grinder. And the spreads were too wide. I already went. This FedEx actually, yeah, under our stop, but now it's over it, so we can. Move stop now. UAL. Yeah, it has room, big bottom pattern. Yeah, so we did a put spread on that. And Dow, we've been in a put spread. So let's raise the stop about right here, 43.48. Birthday's low. 43.74. Actually, we should be out. As a negative credit.
Think our TQs are gonna work out, Alex, based on the movement in the spiders and IWM, but miracles happen. Exactly.
Bravo, hanging in there. Doing nothing, but hanging in there. And Bitcoin at the low. Uh, Delta 20, yeah, Delta 20. We took our profit on Delta, UAL. We're in. Yeah, I mentioned Jets last Thursday. I mentioned Jets, but see, you're too late now. Now it's well, I like the 15-minute chart of strength, and it could keep going. But it's up 4 bars. Weak market. It's not my entry. We're not. I gave up put spread too. I don't know if that got filled or not. Green is fine if it triggers. Tesla doing nothing to your charts. All right, so those are all fine. LYV. Hey, LYV. Is this an early alarm or the correct trigger? 34. Yeah. Yeah, wait, 134. 81. Yeah, it triggered. Well, you know what? Let's give a 30-minute high instead. All right, hold off. LYV. All right, so this just triggered, but it's 9:56. Future's a little if. Let's just wait for 11 o'clock. Actually gave two trades on the shorting of 125 puts and buying the stock. Oh, I'm already in it. The 125. I'm in it from last week. At a profit. 60 by 85. All right. Thanks, and then bull. Oh, oh, that's true. Let's do a 30-minute high on that also. So let's change that to I, I missed my alarm on that earlier. All right, so new alarm will be 1671. Yeah, I had an old alarm. That's why it didn't go off. AMPH was a short under the week's low. RDW, Friday's high, still good to go. Good triggers. Aklo, let's cancel because I wouldn't like the entry being Friday's high now. LYV. And we got one more minute to go. Our SIG here still looks good. LYV. PayPal triggered. Oh, Lulu. Um, Lulu triggered. Fighters moving up. Rick T was going to be make it puts. Let me set an alarm at 10:40. Yeah, let's cancel it. I'll set an alarm, but Mindy, all right, LYB triggered there. Mindy still okay, but it has to get over the highs. Builder. IoT up alarm. All right, this was under 111.42, so that hasn't triggered. LYV triggered. Oh, yeah, bottoming pattern. I mean, you got a ton of resistance there, so ideally I'd like it to go sideways more, but see if you can do a put spread under Friday's low also. I'll look. What did I get filled on? Oh, I had a order out to cover some kava that got filled at 20 cents. All right, that looks like 62 put. 24 by 39 is all. Now our stop is, yeah, there, so it's fine. We're at 60% of max profit on this, so time being Monday, let's do half. UNH up alarm. I looked over the weekend, there's not much juice. I'll look again. 390s or lower. Oh, there's some. 382.50 naked for $1. $20 lower if you're so inclined. Today's Dollar Tree. Yeah, that we had that as a long in the letter. And this gap messed it up. It was a gap and go, and I didn't chase it. But it was a nice pattern. And what was the other one we were watching the same time? Alex, you remember the discussion? The A/B test. I said Dollar Tree was superior. I didn't like the grinding action coming down. And yeah, once we had that bottoming tail range expansion on Dollar Tree, then it was a go. Sam, I actually never asked you. So I know this is your favorite holiday, but where were you born in Mexico? I never asked you that. Did you know that there's over 600 brands of tequila in Mexico? Probably over 700 now. Fast alarm. Now it's ugly, but that is a bull rectangle on the daily and weekly. I gotta move this. Are you serious? That I did not know. Well, I don't know. I've been there before, Guadalajara. I've been in like 12 cities there, 11 or 12. I've been all over Mexico. A lot. It's a 30-minute drive. 134.98. Diamond's biggest retracement here into the gap. But look at the dailies. There's absolutely nothing to do here in terms of the index ETFs. EA. Remember I sold a put on this on Friday. I look, has earnings tomorrow, but I got a nice open profit. I'm gonna bid to close here. I'm out. Wow, got filled. All right, I made 40% of max profit. Don't have to hold over earnings. IoT up alarm. Days low. Well, we already got it. 4078. I'll leave it. SPSC held the stop. We can move the stop days low. Well, we only held the stop break, which was break even by 13 cents. So I'll just leave it. Frenchie's asking. Frenchie, you used to be in the green room. What are you doing on YouTube? What's your top choices from Mexico? It used to be Cabo San Lucas when I lived in Orange County, California. It was a 2 hour flight, 1,000 miles. But I've heard a lot of bad things about Mexico's security now with the gangs and crime. So I don't think I'll be going to Mexico for a while. But yeah, I've been to Cabo 7 times. Once on a cruise and 6 times flight when I lived out there. And your favorite boat slip? I know it's not what you asked, but we had our air show here in Fort Lauderdale this weekend. A little cloudy, rainy, so it wasn't great. A little close. WRP. Still a slow mover. Autodesk up alarm. Nice. The put spread. Lulu. Got everything updated. RP. Yep, down. Stops under here, 92.62. I heard Ackman talking from Pershing Square today about his purchase, and they were asking him a lot of economic things too. And he said on a favorable note front, not favorable, optimistic. He thinks we'll get a deal done with China by the end of the year. He thinks we'll get the war. No, I don't know. I forget if he gave a timeline on China, but no, he said he thinks we'll take care of Iran by the end of the year, either with peace or war. He says he thinks he'll settle the Russian-Ukraine war. And he made an interesting comment. He said, he would recommend putting 180-day pause on China. Just because they got so much to do, let them work on some other ones. They'll take fear out of the market. But that was actually an interesting point that I agreed with. CBS, nah, when these things come down too hard like that, I don't like them at all. Marvel, yeah, there's just no entry here. Just bobbling around under the declining 50 market cap. That's just it's not high odds. But yeah, we had a put spread on it, as you know. ARE up alarm. Regional banks, I thought had some room on the daily. Yeah, I mean, not a swing. Nah, forget it. I don't like it. Have been. Yes, I just don't know how much it's going to go, Alex, particularly with the market. It's on my list. I got an alarm, I think at 55.02. I just don't, what I said, I don't know about the target. All right, so ON is off the list. Lima off the list. Said if it opened flat, remember? Actually, what's interesting about XGN now is it made a lower low and a big old bottoming tail. I'm gonna keep that on the list. Twists, well, I gave up that morning strength on Netflix. I totally forgot about, but that's actually a bigger bounce than I would wanted to have seen. Um, I guess for the fun of it, let's see what the 1170s are, because if the market goes down, I really can't envision this thing making new highs if the Qs are selling off. All right, what did I? Let's go all the way up to 1200. 1200. Yeah, the problem is getting a midpoint. Let's try 1180. Wow. Greg, check this out. 1180, 1185. Call spread is 72. This was our only loss last week when we did a call spread, but it's because we did it too early, I think. But or too early in the day. We did it on this bottoming tail day because it traded under prior bars low. But now we got the shock gap and we got a sell set up 75. What do you think, Greg? Are you there? I'm gonna do it with a 1-to-1 stop, just like we did last time. I don't know. It's up 4 bars of prior high. I'm not crazy about it unless it went sideways until after 3. Then it'd be an inverse head and shoulder on the 15. Say another one. Yes, I like it as a put spread, Thomas. I just don't know how much it's going to move. Kind of a junky bottoming pattern with no great void, but it's above the 2050. into Wednesday and then sell off with what, the Fed? Why are you bullish now with today's gap down? Man, I didn't get filled yet. Might have to lower a penny or two. It's a grinder. It's bullish, but a grinder. Because the trend is not violated. That's how you determine staying bullish? Not up 9 bars, the biggest run in 21 years, and gapping under a prior day's low, and market internals getting bearish. None of that other stuff is relevant as long as it maintains its uptrend. It's up 4 bars. I'm not pushing things. Keep the alarm. Well, true, Sam, but that's not what he meant. I could be wrong, but I think his statement meant he's looking for putting on more bullish trades. But he can clarify if he likes. All right, Tesla is having a bad day. I had this as a put spread over the highs, but looks like that's not going to trigger.